What's up, Kings of War fans? Okay, we got some Kings of War fresco for the Goblins, 2,000 points, and this is what you get. One horde of sharp sticks. These guys have courage, brew of courage, so they're +1 nerve. Behind them, we have 2 war trombones, and then we have 1, 2, 3 troll hordes. And one of them has the staying stone. I'll probably make it this one because they're easier to identify. Behind them, 2 giants. And then, coming over to the right, we have 2 mincers. Brand new models for me. I literally assembled them this morning. Never played with them before. So I'm keen to see how they get on. A regiment of Fleabag riders. These guys have brew of haste. So they're speed 11 nimble. Then we have Magua and Jews, which is the Goblin Living Legend, this guy here, and then you get to upgrade a Morbeast pack to his like special unit, so that's what that regiment is there. And then character-wise, we have a Flaggit with Loot of Insatiable Darkness, then we have a Wiz with Amulet for Lightning Bolt 5, and then we have a Flaggit mounted on a Fleabag with the Circlet of Blood, I think, that item that gives you attacks based on how many wounds your opponent has, and that makes up 2,000 points of goblins. Okay, and we got some nice sun on the board. Right, 2,000 points of Brotherhood. Talk us through this, Dan. What have you got, mate?
So today we've got Swain's Villain Rangers. Then we've got a horde of martyrs with brew sharpness, so they're hitting on 3, so they're reasonably killy.
Okay.
Then we got the Abyssal Hunt Regiment. They have Fire Oil. And then
did you know you'd be playing lots of trolls?
we've also got a regiment of Redemption there, Brew of Strength.
Those are your like regen knights, right?
Yeah,
Redemption.
that's right. They got
Yeah, they're pretty killy. Nice.
Regiment of Reconnoiteurs.
Okay. They're your fast cav?
Yeah, they sure are. And we've got 2 units of regiments of Forsaken. One of them's got Brew of Haste.
Okay.
Then we've also got the Forsaken Beast. This time he's got regen.
Oh, no ensnare?
No ensnare.
Oh, okay.
Primarily because you got goblins, and I thought it's a fair bit of shooting in that. So.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. That's cool.
Then we've got 2 devoted. One's got Martyr's Prayer, and the other one has got Inspiring Talisman and Mind Fog.
Oh,
which
okay.
I haven't used before either of those spells.
No, I've never played with or against either of those.
Interesting to see how that goes. And then we just got a standard adjutant with Utilization of Darkness for some crushing.
There we go. Very nice, very pretty, and that makes up 2,000 points of Brotherhood. What's up, Kings of War fans? Utterly Spineless here, bringing you another Kings of War battle report. And it's been a while since my last one. It's been a few months. But I have been playing Kings. I've been playing quite a lot of Kings, actually. But I just haven't been battle repping it because, you know, it just takes time to take the photos and put together the video and stuff. But I'm excited for this one. I'm straight back on my Goblins. It's been a long time since I've played my Goblins. I've pretty much been exclusively playing my Basilia for at least the last few months now. And I've been doing quite well recently with my Basilia. I actually went to a little tournament and did quite well, but I'll probably do a video on that another day. So anyway, back on the Goblins, pumped for it, and I got new models as well, and a list that I don't normally run with Magua and, you know, some like Flaggit and some Mincers. So yeah, so should be a good game. And it's also the first time that both me and my opponent are playing with the strategy battlefield cards, I think they're called. So that's one when you both play 2 different objectives and you get to have some, like, you know, jokers up your sleeves and stuff. It's pretty cool and it was good fun. So yeah, and it's a nice sunny day outdoors, so a little bit of a disclaimer beforehand, you know, we were just having a couple of beers, chilling out, enjoying ourselves. This isn't the most, you know, high level competitive game you're ever going to see, but, you know, it's just good fun. So let's crack on. If I skip back to the photos then, so these are the, that was the condition card we drew. Armies deploy more than 15 inches away from the centre line instead. So, not really a huge effect on the game, I don't think. And that was my objective. I've got 3 victory points if I have more unit strength than 12. So I'm essentially playing Dominate. And this is my opponent's objective. Dan had 1 VP for all the field objectives and 2 for the base objectives. So he's essentially going after the objectives. and I'm trying to play Dominate. And those were my strategy cards that I drew. So 1 nerve ones. In all honesty, I didn't really make the most of them, I felt, but you know, whatever. And yeah, so before we deployed, Dan played 2 strategy cards because both of his were due to deployment. So he got to go up an extra 3 inches, and then he also, I had to deploy an extra one as well. So not that that mattered because I had so many more drops in them anyway. But there we go. So that is what the board is looking like after deployment. And if I just go through the objectives, there's 1 there, there, and there. Those are the 3 objectives on the center line. I think those are the field objectives. And then the ones in your opponent's half are the base objectives. He put 1 there, and I put 1 just there. It's actually sitting under the Martyr Horde. So, yeah, as you can see, like, I've gone really strong in the middle because we're playing Dominate. That Woods is going to hold me up a lot, but I don't really have a lot of choice. I just want to win the center because that's my victory conditions. So, let's see how the game pans on. We roll, and Basilia get first turn. And that is what the board is looking like after the Basilia first turn. Not a lot of shooting. Sorry, I said Basilia twice there. Brotherhood. Brotherhood don't have a lot of shooting. So there we go. A move up. I think the these Swain's Rangers, something like that. They make a vanguard move, so they haven't actually moved there. So they're still hooting on 4s, and he elects to shoot this Mincer here, but because of the big shield, doesn't do any wounds, and that is literally the end of the Brotherhood turn 1. So for the Goblins turn 1 then, just a straight advance up the board as you would expect. On the left hand side, I've nimbled and put those Morbius pack pretty much right in front and just said, yeah, okay, you know, if you want to charge them, I'm okay with that. They're only 95 points, and then I can get the counter charge. So I just put them out there. I don't really like sacrificing units that like that, but you know, whatever. He's got a lot of fast stuff. I need to deal with it. I'm held up in the middle by those woods, as I expected. And then on the right hand side, I was able to catch him unawares with those flea bags, and having haste on them meant I had a 22-inch range charge, so I caught those Reckoniters off guard. Shooting wise, then the only thing I had range on was lightning bolts from this guy and lightning bolts from that guy. So lightning bolt 9 between them. I did 3 wounds onto Swain's Rangers, but didn't manage to get anything. And then combat wise, I only did something like 5 wounds onto the Reckoniters, and I bounced back. But I do strip their Thunderous though, and I do neutralise his fast cav, so I'm okay with that. And that is pretty much the end of Goblin turn 1. So Brotherhood turn 2, and this is what the board is looking like after movements have been made. So if you look on the left flank, not a single charge was declared. So instead of just going for those Morbius packs, routing them and getting counter charge, you decided to do a bit of trickery with his flyers. So that one on the left that was there, that's actually got Brew of Haste, so that was able to get the 22 inches over that building and turn around. And that one was like there, and it kind of like nimbled to get into that position, so that puts it just out of charge range of the Mincer, and obviously out of arc of sight of those Morbius packs. So a little bit of good maneuvering there. This unit was held up because it was in the woods, so they could only move 8, so he's just moved them forward and then just done a little bit of a pivot as much as he could do. That is it for the left flank, no charges. His middle is actually backed up on these 2 units because he was in range of the War Trombones, or that one there, and he didn't want to get shot at, so he just moved back. This cavalry unit has moved slightly forward, and then a flank charge from the Reckoniters into the Fleabag. So basically, because of the way his unit was, when I bounced back out, it was a flank charge, and this, yeah, whatever, it's just the way it is. So, and then obviously his you know, bear, I say better than snare, he doesn't actually have a snare in this game, but his monster kind of creature, I can't remember off the top of my head, is gone into the front of my giant. That is a hindered charge though because of the obstacle. And in the shooting phase then, his Devoted, which is this one here, she doesn't roll too well, and on the Martyr's Prayer only manages to heal 1 wound off Swain's Rangers. So that's her wound right there. And this Devoted, I think it cast a fog. I can't quite remember, but it didn't turn out. Anyway, that one didn't do anything, and Bane Chant went onto the Rangers and failed because unfortunately you couldn't get his Bane Chant here because of line of sight, which is obviously where you would ideally want it. And the Swain's Rangers opened up and put 2 wounds onto Magua and Jews. And then in the combat phase then, Yeah, so his Rangers, after not having Thunderous, did not do very well into the flank of the Fleabags, despite it being a flank charge and double attacks. Because Fleabags are defense 4. After playing Basilia, I'm used to my fast cav being defense 3, because that's what the Sisterhood Panther Lancers are. But then, no, Fleabags are defense 4, which they shouldn't be, because they're goblins and they're 30 points cheaper, but oh well. Yeah, so they did like 3 wounds and bounced back. Just a really shit effort by the by the Reckoniters, and that is the... No, sorry, that's not the end of the combat, because yeah, the monstrous creature there. I'm going to read his name now. I can't remember. I can't keep saying this for the entire thing. He literally did 0 wounds to the giant. He was hindered, so yeah, just bounced back after doing absolutely nothing, and that is the end of the Brotherhood turn. So Goblins turn 2 then, and I advance up in the middle, pretty much leaving everything behind. Then I decide to just turn back all my shooters in order to deal with these flyers. So I've got the War Trombone, this flag gate with Circle of Blood, and then I turn this guy around. He was about up here, so I turn him around to get some lightning bolts onto these guys, because I can't just let these flyers have free reign behind me. I move everything up. I move the Minto Big Shield up right in front of the cav, just to block up that cav. And then, so that's pretty much it for the left. And then on the right hand side, yeah, I tell you what's happened here. The Fleabags were actually wavered. Yeah, I remember now. They weren't fine. They were wavered, so they just backed up half their movement. But it did allow me to get a flank charge from the sharp sticks into the side of his Reckoniters. So that's what's happened there. The giant has gone back into the Forsaken Beast. I just read his name. That's what he's called. And that's pretty much it. Because these guys backed up, I don't have any range attacks from the War Trombone. But shooting-wise, then, I did Lightning Bolt 4 with Vicious from this guy, and then Breath Attack. Oh, sorry, I've got ahead of myself here. Yeah, I managed to put 5 wounds on that unit of flying cavalry between that, and that. And I did manage to wave them, which is really lucky. You know, I would have liked to rout them, but oh well, I'll take a waiver there, definitely. And then that was the flank charge. And then combat-wise, that unit of Sharpsticks actually routed the Reckoniters. They did really well. They had double attacks. They had 60 attacks, but they were hitting on 5s. And the unit already had something like 5 wounds on it, so they did quite well to rout that. So Brotherhood turn 3, and straight away you can see that both the flyers have got 2 really nice charges, flank charges onto 2 hordes of trolls. So that's some really nice manoeuvring there from the Brotherhood. But then really conservative in the centre, that unit there, and there, all electing not to charge out and do anything. That unit of Swain's Rangers, it's because of the hill, it was like balancing. It's actually more like here, it's like sideways on, but you know, we couldn't put it there, so it just looks like it's there now, and the Devoted has just moved out in front of them. A counter charge here by the Forsaken Beast, and that's pretty much it movement wise. Oh yeah, this was like this sucked. Those Swain's Rangers, they moved, so they were actually hitting on 5. So they're hitting on 5s, wounding on 3s against that unit of Fleabags, and they managed to put 5 wounds on them, which is just ridiculous rolling, and then and then routed them. So yeah, devastated about that. I thought those Fleabags were looking for some serious tasted charges next turn, but no, they've been routed. So some good shooting there from the Brotherhood. But combat-wise, it doesn't go too well. Now, this unit who charged the Troll Horde in the middle, now, what you've got to remember is that units who pass their headstrong, because they were wavered, if you remember, units who pass their headstrong are still disordered, which means they lose their Thunderous. So they are hitting these trolls on 3s, but they are wounding on 5s. So despite having double attacks, they only managed to put 4 wounds on. And the other ones do 11 wounds, which is some really good rolling, but unfortunately he just fluffs the nerve roll and doesn't even waver those trolls either. So both the troll hordes are totally fine, despite having 2 flank charges, so that is unlucky there from the Brotherhood. This guy manages to put 3 wounds on the giant, which is 3 times better than he did last time. And that is the board at the end of Brotherhood's turn. So some really disappointing combats, but some really good shooting. So, oh yeah, and I forgot to mention this unit of knights. So basically, he elected to just charge them down the board because there wasn't a way he could move them that would be out of the arc of sight of the mincer. So instead of just turning and taking a front charge from an 80-point mincer, he decides to just move them right down the bottom of the board into just no man's land. Yeah, I don't know why. But there we go. That's what those knights are doing, and that is the end of Brotherhood turn. So Goblin turn 3 then, and this is what I decide to do. I move the Troll Horde on the right away and just decided to focus that unit of the Forsaken Flyers down with just shooting because they're already sitting on 5 wounds. So those Trolls move away. I shoot off that unit of Forsaken and those Trolls countercharge into that unit and they do really well. I actually managed to rout them in one round of combat, which is pretty good from those Trolls. I didn't expect that. I just basically wanted to take away their Thunderers and their Flying and nullify them. But I managed to rout them, so both those flyers are gone, which is a really good start. Yeah, just the drawbacks of playing so conservatively with his units in the centre is that I'm, when he gets his charges off with his flyers, I'm able to just turn around and spank them with just, no threat of being countercharged at all because he hasn't moved his units in the middle up. Yeah, so there we go. So that's what I do with my trolls, and then the sharp sticks on the right hand side. These, after doing so well and routed the Reckoniters, they totally shit the bed, and they managed to put 1 wound on this devoted, which is utter pathetic. And the same with the trolls; they do terrible. So this is technically a flank charge onto that unit of Swain's Rangers, and I only do 8 wounds. Which is utter crap. I'm wounding on 2s, just total crap. The dice were just terrible in both these 2 combats, so I just bounced back. Because, yeah, they had all their wounds healed, don't forget, by that bloody Martyr's Prayer, which is a total pain in the arsehole game, I gotta be honest. Yeah, so they bounced back. The Giant does okay. I think he puts 5 wounds on the Knights. Oh, I tell you what I must have skipped over is the Knights routing the Mincer. Yeah, I've forgotten about that. Yeah, so obviously they routed that in a oneer, and then just they went back. Yeah, I messed that out last turn. So they routed the Mincer last turn and then just decided to move backwards. So the Giant puts 5 wounds on them, but then bounces back. And then, yeah, the Morbius pack get the charge off on the left-hand side, and they do, this is really unfortunate, they do really well. This is a hinder charge, don't forget, and I get a Bane chant off of them, so they're wounding on 3s with a Vicious, and they put 5 wounds on that Defense 5 unit of, whatever they are. They're just Defense 5 infantry. And then I get a double 6 on the Nerve roll, which is an auto waiver, but it means it goes up to 17, so it's technically a rout, which means I have to re-roll it, and then when I re-roll it, I get double 1s. So I go from double 6s to double 1s in one nerve roll, which actually is my 3rd double 1s of the game, and this is only my 3rd turn. The other 2 were on shooting, so they didn't really matter, but every time you roll a double 1s, you're like, oh, you just panic. Yeah, so I've had 3 this game so far already. Yeah, so that sucks. That's a really bad bit of luck, and that is the end of the Goblin turn 3. So Brotherhood turn 4 then, and this is what the board is looking like at the end of all the movement. So this unit of knights on the left hand side, they've basically just turned and come into the board. So 4th turn, and they still haven't done absolutely jack. And that guy's gone back in there. This has just turned into a bit of a slugfest, and the knights have charged the giant, countercharge, and that unit of Defense 5 infantry have countercharged the Morbius pack. But that's pretty much it for charges. Oh yeah, and obviously the Swain's Rangers have countercharged the Trolls. Shooting wise though, the Devoted puts the Martyr's Prayer onto this unit here and heals back all 5 wounds. So those guys are now fresh, which is a little frustrating. The Forsaken Beast puts the Giant back up to 5 wounds. He's only on 3 wounds because he's been regenning, basically. He's got regen 5, so that's why that is like just an absolute slugfest going absolutely nowhere. The Swain's Rangers put 1 wound on the Troll Horde. That's pretty much all they can do. And if you have a look at that unit of Knights, they are now sitting on 2 wounds just because he had the strategy card, which allows you to heal D3 wounds. So they were on 5, so he managed to roll a 6 and take 3 wounds off them, which is just like, oh yeah, so that's annoying. So that Knights of, the unit of infantry healed 5 wounds, those guys healed 2 wounds, and he just moved his devoted back to behind the Knights again. And yeah, and the Knights put 7 wounds on the Giant in return as well, which is good. They're those unit of Knights that what are they called? The Abyssal Hunt. So they basically have vicious against monsters. And I think he got a Bane chant off on them as well. No, he didn't get a Bane chant off on them, but he just rolled really well. So he's hitting on 3s, but he's winning on 4s with vicious. So yeah, so that's alright. So that's pretty much it for the Brotherhood turn 4. Oh, no, it's not. Sorry, I'm forgetting one combat, which is this combat here. That unit on the Morbius packs, he managed to put 6 wounds on them and waver them, which is just really annoying. So yeah, they're sitting there wavered, and that is the end of their turn. So, Goblin turn 4, and this is actually the turn where you reveal your secondary objective to your opponent. So I reveal mine, and it says to eliminate the current most expensive unit of your opponent, which for me is actually this unit here, because they are a 260 point unit of Order of Redemption. But the way I think of it, I'm like, I'd rather just keep them out of the game. I can feed them a War Trombone this turn. I don't have to kill them. I don't necessarily need those points. As long as I can contest this with my original card, I can get 2 points. And then if I get the middle, I get 3. So that's 5 points. That should be more than enough. So yeah, basically, the Giant goes back in. The Sharpsticks and the Trolls go back into the Swain's Rangers. I get all my shooting, which is this unit here, and then this unit and the lightning bolts. I put everything into that Horde of Martyrs and do, I think, 9 wounds. The Trolls charge into the front of the Knights and the Giant, who have healed most of their wounds back again, which is annoying, and just do really bad. I put him up to 7 wounds, which is absolutely sucks. And even with brutal, I get 8 and I get nothing, just no waver, nothing. And then even worse, though, that Horde of Trolls and that Horde of Sharpsticks all charge into the Swain's Rangers, and they were already on 8 wounds, and then I put them up to like 20 and double one it. This is my 4th double one of the game, which is just devastating. And I got 2 hordes tied up there as well, on just one little bloody troop of shooters. Yeah, and although I actually forgot to take a photo of the next one. But what I managed to do here, if I just show you here, this unit of Morbius packs, they have nimble, so you can back up when you're wavered, and then you get your nimble pivot as well. So I managed to back them up and then turn them, which allowed the Trolls to charge into the front of that unit of I think they're called Brotherhood on foot. But again, just roll total crap. It's a hindered charge. I think I managed to put something like 3 wounds on them. And then that was it. That was the end of the Goblin turn. Just a really crap turn. So, Brotherhood turn 5 then, and the Order of Redemption have gone into the front of the War Trombone. They shouldn't have any trouble routing that. This has gone back into that, just a bit of a slugfest here. The Swain's Rangers have gone into the front of the Trolls. And then the Horde of Martyrs here have gone into the front of the Trolls, and the Knights have actually gone into the Giant. You can see what's happened here on the left-hand side, so that Order of Brotherhood on foot, because the Trolls bounce back an inch, they could just get a pivot and get the flank charge off on the Morbius pack. I had to leave them like that because it was the only way I could get the Trolls in, so yeah, I think they're dead. If I have a look at this healing-wise, yeah, I think more wounds were healed back on these Order of Redemption. I actually had a strategy card that I played, which meant that it was +1 to your opponent's spell casting. So he had the Martyr's Prayer, and he was hitting on 5s, and despite that, he still did something like, still healed 2 wounds onto that unit of Knights. So they've gone back down to 5. You can see his devoted there, sitting on 12 wounds. The Martyrs, I think, have regened a wound here as well. Yeah, so that's it for the charges. And despite getting the Bane chant off on the unit of Martyrs, he put 10 wounds on the Horde of Trolls. I say despite, off the top of my head, that's actually a pretty good roll. He was hindered actually as well, so he was hitting on 4s, wounding on 4s. Yeah, so we rolled well above average there actually to get 10 wounds on those trolls, but only wavered them. So I think he just, I think he routed them first time, but then on the inspiring reroll, he just wavered them. And then the knights not doing so well on the giant because they weren't able to get bane chanted, so they only put something like 3 extra wounds on that giant. So both those units bounced back then. I think really in hindsight, he should have put the knights and the martyrs into the trolls and just guaranteed to rout them. I think trying to rout both and getting a bit greedy and getting neither was not such a good thing. This unit of Brotherhood down on the left hand side, though, they do manage to rout the Morbius pack quite easily. Oh yeah, sorry. So the giant was on 7, he's gone up to 10. Yeah, that's right. And yeah, there we go. That war trombone's been routed there. This Brotherhood unit, this is actually hilarious. So he routes the war trombone, and then to overrun, he gets a 6, and that just gives him exposes his flank to the mincer massively. I think if he'd got like a 1, 2, 3, or 4, he would have been fine and would have been out of line of sight with this building. But he got a 6, and just like now he's way too exposed. So that's a little unfortunate. That unit of Swain's Rangers puts 3 wounds on those trolls and they bounce back. And that unit of Brotherhood there rout the Morbius pack, and they also get a 6 and actually overrun way past the trolls, which is what he needed. He needed high on this one, which he got to get out of the Troll's Arc of Sight, but he didn't need high here, and he did get them both. So that is what the board is looking like at the end of Brotherhood turn 5. Okay, Goblin turn 5 then, and pretty much just counter charges here, and then both of these units have gone back into there. Again, it's like there's not much I can do. There's just everything's so compact, and there's just no decent options. So I have to go back in with the sharp sticks and the horde of trolls. The giant goes back into the knights. These trolls are wavered, so all they can do is back up. They do get to make their regen though, and I move all my shooting units here, just basically forward out of the arc of sight of that unit there, and obviously the mincer makes that charge. Yeah, so I do eventually manage to get rid of those pesky Swain's Rangers. I've thrown so many attacks at them. This game is unreal, and I only just managed to get rid of them. It's unbelievable. They've taken a flank charge from a horde of trolls, then a front charge from a horde of trolls, and a flank charge from a horde of sharp sticks, and only now they've gone absolutely incredible. The giant goes into front of the knights. Yeah, so I managed to back up my trolls here, regen 2 wounds, everything, my shooting goes forward. So shooting wise, I managed to get up to 16 wounds on those martyrs. I think they were on 8 before, right? So I've done another 8 again, they're up to 16. Let's have a look. Combat wise, this isn't going anywhere fast. Yeah, I think my giant, I'm just getting absolutely nothing, just getting no attacks and just rolling 1s to wound and stuff. And then he's just regenerating them with his Forsaken Beast, so that's going absolutely nowhere. But having said that, this combat is getting fought near that token, so I'm okay with that, because I know that on my last turn I can literally just move him over onto that token and score it, so that's totally fine. Yeah, and look at this. Would you believe it? I actually roll really well on the giant here. I think I roll something like, I get like 5 wounds, so that puts him up to 10. I get +1 for brutal. So all I need is a 4 to waver these knights, and I double 1 it. Again, I have rolled 5 double 1s in this game. That's absolutely nuts. I've never seen that before. I've literally never seen it. 1 is bad enough. 2 is really unlucky. 5 is just taking the piss. Yeah, so anyway, I was literally pulling my hair out playing that, but oh well. This was just like, yeah, every cloud has a silver lining, because this was just fantastic. This mincer, I roll a 6 for my attacks, so he gets 12 attacks, doubled in the flank, right? I think I hit 18 times out of 24 attacks. Wounded with 16, +1 for brutal, and routed his 260 points unit of knights with 1 mincer charge. So it was all worth it. It was awesome, absolutely awesome. Yeah, there we go. So that unit has been routed. The mincer's reformed. That's what the trolls are looking like there. Yeah, just a bit gutted about that, but other than that, like, you know, goblins are doing alright here, and that is the end of Goblin turn 5. Brotherhood turn 6 then, and potentially the last turn of the game for the Brotherhood, so not a lot for them to do here. So obviously the Knights go back into the front of the Giant, and those Martyrs charge out and go back into the front of that heavily wounded Troll Horde. And then the Order of Brotherhood on foot here, they just turn to face the Trolls so they don't get flanked, and this guy goes back in. This is just, nothing happens here, obviously. The Knights finally do manage to rout the Giant. Just this last turn, they roll out of the box and they take him from 10 wounds to 18 wounds. So literally doing more wounds than they managed in the last 3 turns or something. And they rout him, and then the Martyrs, after getting Bane chanted as well, they manage to rout to that Troll Horde. So there we go, taking away a Giant and a Troll Horde this turn, but that is pretty much all they can do, unfortunately, apart from a little bit of healing. That Martyr unit go down to something like 14 wounds. And I think that's pretty much the end of, that is the end of Brotherhood turn 6. So Goblin turn 6 then, and the Giant, as you can see, has legged it onto that objective. The Mincer's legged it into the middle to score for that scenario. The Trolls have charged into the front of that Order of Brotherhood, and those Trolls have charged into the front of that heavily wounded unit of Knights. All my shooting, which is this unit here, here, and here, finally all managed to rout that Horde of Martyrs in the middle. They were on 14 wounds, and I think by the time my flag it with Circlet of Blood rolled, they were on something like 19 wounds, also 20 wounds. I managed to roll tons of dice for that Circlet of Blood spell and then routed them. And that is pretty much, let's have a look. Yeah, that Horde of Knights again heavily wounded and got killed, and this unit played my final strategy card to waver that Order of Brotherhood on foot towards the end of the game, and that is what the board is looking like at the end of the game. And it's a convincing win for the Goblins here. So the Giant has scored 2 points by getting onto that objective. The Mincer has scored me 2 points by routing that unit of Knights there all on his own. What an absolute hero. And then for the one in the centre, we didn't even measure this, but I think this unit is contesting it, so I don't actually score that one. So but the Brotherhood aren't scoring any objectives, so it's a 4 points to 0 victory for the Goblins. So there we go, that's another Kings of War battle report done, and I hope you enjoyed that one, guys. If I'm honest, probably one of the most frustrating games of Kings I have ever played. just between some just really ineffective combats from Giants and Trolls, and just getting just horrible nerve rolls. It just got so bogged down for like 3 turns, and it was going nowhere. Just a really frustrating game to play. Let's talk MVPs though. Probably doesn't go to the Goblins. We did total crap in almost every combat except for that one miraculous Mincer charge, which again we just got really lucky on. Just ridiculous dice on that one. It's probably got to go to the Devoted. Look at it there, 15 wounds that Mars Prayer healed. Which meant that this unit of Knights just became a brick that I just couldn't get rid of. They healed 3 wounds from that strategy card as well, don't forget. And probably those Swain's Rangers deserve an honourable mention. They turned around in turn 2 and shot that unit of Fleabags off the board, which was really good. And then also just holding up the Horde of Trolls and the Horde of Sharpsticks for 2 combats as well. That really saved the Brotherhood's ass, that did. So yeah, those are probably my MVPs. Let's talk strategy cards though. I'm not sure if I'm a huge fan. I think it's probably a lot of faffing, to be honest. I mean, it was our first time doing it, yes, but you got to read through the rules and then you deal the cards. And what I don't like about it is because you and your opponent are playing 2 different objectives, you constantly having to go back and forth reminding each other, oh, do you need this objective? And then you're reading your card and like, oh no, I don't score for that one. You're like, okay, but I do. Do I need to hold it or do I need to contest it? And then turn 4 rolls around and you do another one, and then that just adds another layer, and it can become quite a lot of headwork to keep track of, to be honest. Whereas if you play in something like Invade, it's very clear cut, isn't it? It's just like you get in my half, I get in your half, and it's done. I'm sure if you played it enough, you'd get used to it. I wouldn't recommend it for newer players. That's an absolute, that's obvious. It was too much for newer players to get their head around, I reckon. I probably wouldn't recommend it for competitive play as well, because I think the condition cards are a little bit unbalanced, to be honest. They can heavily advantage one side over another. Ours didn't in this particular game, but they definitely can. So there we go. That's another battle report done. I hope you enjoyed that one, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one.